Tonight, a special report on what's taking place inside California's female prisons. In September 2020, Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 132 into law, requiring prisons to house inmates based on their chosen gender identity. Now, biological men are sharing prison cells with terrified women, and one woman is reportedly pregnant. NTD's Grace Coulter has the story.
In California, biological male criminals are allowed to be housed in female prisons if they identify as women. Women's Liberation Front, or WOLF, a feminist organization which is in direct contact with inmates and staff, tells NTD that at least one woman in Central California Women's Facility is pregnant as a result of the male inmates. Because pregnancy is private health data, the reports cannot be verified with the prison.
Some of the men have been rounded up and put in segregation on the yard where the woman who is supposedly pregnant. So they've taken 3 of them and put them in administrative segregation.
Lauren Adams is Wolf's legal counsel. She says several weeks ago, the prison began giving out condoms and providing information about inmates' options if they get pregnant. At the time, Wolf called the new resources a tacit admission by officials that women should expect to be raped when housed in prison with men, where all sex is considered non-consensual by default within the system. Adams says she thinks many people picture someone like Laverne Cox from Orange is the New Black when they think of transgender prisoners, but she says this is far from the truth. Many of the ones now housed in female prisons still look like men, and some, she said, are reportedly not taking their hormones, and one has grown a beard. And worse yet, Adams says some of the men that have been transferred into women's prisons are sex offenders.
One of the men who is in the yard where the pregnant woman is and who has been put in segregation is a sex offender. He has been convicted of multiple forcible rapes, but that's not what he's serving time for this time.
She says another male inmate housed in the California Institution for Women is serving time for molesting 2 children. As of April, around 250 biological male prisoners filed requests to transfer to women's prisons. So far, only about 20 transfers have been processed. None have been denied. Numerous women have written to Wolf saying they're terrified.
Having to use the toilet in front of men, having to shower in front of men. It's demoralizing and humiliating. We have religious women in there who, as part of their practice of their religion, rely on sex separation. And so on a daily 24-hour basis, they're being, that right's being infringed upon. It's really unreal.
She says the female inmates never got a say in the law, and even now, their calls for help go unheard. Adams says they feel forgotten.
They just feel like nobody cares about us, nobody cares about our safety, nobody cares about our feelings. 86% of incarcerated women have histories of sexual or physical abuse. Many have PTSD. The mental health options in there are very limited, and I don't know how you treat anxiety that's associated with literally being locked up with a sex offender. It's not like you can medicate that away or counsel it away.
In a July phone call to Wolf, one female inmate said prison guards told inmates they won't segregate the men from the women's cells because they're worried about getting sued.
And how do you think that we feel? We do not feel safe knowing you're scared of a lawsuit. We do not feel safe that you're going to put them in our room because you're afraid they'll claim discrimination, when all along the discrimination has been against us.
Adams said the situation cannot be blamed on the prisons, since the policy was made law by California politicians. She said some of the legislators were trying to protect transgender individuals.
But, the solution to men being victimized in men's prisons is not to change who the victims are. It's not to, instead of having male victims, now we have female victims.
Fundamentally, she says, women deserve to be housed in single-sex prisons.
We're not clownfish, we're not frogs. We are born how we're born, and that doesn't change, and no matter how much we see ourselves in a certain way. So I think that we need to remember that we're not housing identities, we're housing people.
She says for the most part, there's been silence over what's now taking place in the prisons. Likely, she says, because many people are afraid of taking a position and being called transphobic. Adams says the time has come for people to be brave and speak up. To read the letters from incarcerated women or sign the petition to halt the transfer of men into women's prisons, you can go to Women's Liberation Front's website. Grace Coulter, NTD News.